Madhouse Podcasting Network.
We're on episode 3.
Okay. So, are you recording now?
I've been recording.
Oh, you fucker.
Episode 3. It's all the technicalities are out of the way.
Yeah.
Scott's looking pretty. He's got a new camera.
Anyway, beyond all the mumbo jumbo stuff, everybody, thanks for joining us for episode 3. On this episode, we're actually going to dive into Jeremy's background from being spooky, scary guy all the way up to what he's doing up to 2015, I would say. And then we'll decide what he wants to talk about beyond that. So what's up, dude? It's been about only a day.
It's been a day
since we spoke.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk all the time. We just don't always record it. It's the reason why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah,
so
true,
we can
true.
Record and show everybody our stupid conversations.
Yeah. So, well, let's get into it, dude. Let's not jibber jabber too much. So, we did touch on that you started Haunt in '96 as a backup and got called in. So let's start there. Give us a little bit of insight on like what made you decide to even do it to begin with, and where you got placed your first area.
I had no interest in Haunt. Haunt wasn't even anything on my radar. I mean, I used to go, but I wasn't being a monster never came to mind. I was actually just looking for a normal job. I used to work at Knott's Berry Farm, and I worked during Haunt, but as an employee. And when I went to go try and get a job there, they never called me back, and then time had gone, and I ended up moving to Hollywood.
When you say get a job there, was that after you were already working there and then you applied to work Scary Farm, or?
No, I applied to work Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, okay. So regular day ops.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
I was just looking for a job. It was actually the second job is what I was really looking for. I was already working, but I needed a second job. And so I ended up moving to Hollywood. And when I was in Hollywood is when they called. They're like, would you like to come in for an interview? They didn't even say what it was for. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. I'll just go in. And so I went in for the interview. and it wasn't even like, hey, where do you want to work? It was like, it was so weird. They literally said, okay, cool. Like, we went through the process. They interviewed me, asked me questions, but it had nothing to do with Haunt. Had nothing to do with the job. It really was just like random questions about personality. They're like, oh, I see you've worked here before. Yeah, how was that? And I talked about that. And then like, all right, cool. And they're like, well, would you, how would you like to be a monster? And I'm like,
that's exactly the face I was expecting from you. What?
Sure. I didn't, and it's going to sound stupid. It sounds really dumb, but at the time, I was so thrown off by it. There was no Haunt anything around there, and Haunt wasn't even in my mind. And
so you didn't really know that Knott's did Scary Farm at the time. You were just kind of.
No, I did, because I used to go when I was in high school, but it wasn't something like, oh, I got to go every year. I wasn't like obsessed with it.
Right.
So when they're like, okay, then they say, well, we're looking for monsters and stuff, and I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I go, just give me a job. And so they're like, cool. So they made me a wretched warrior, and then they made me, and this is the reason why it wasn't really, I guess you could say, talked. Like, they didn't really talk to me about Haunt, because they pretty much casted everybody at that time, and they just made me a backup.
Right.
So that's why, and they're like, okay, well, you're not guaranteed to work. We're just putting you on file, and you're going to be a backup. Just in case somebody.
So basically you're on call for Haunt nights.
Yeah,
type of thing. Yeah. Okay.
So and I said, all right, cool. Just give me a call. And so that was obviously earlier, like July, around that time. this time. And
Yeah.
and so I was in Hollywood, and unfortunately I got into a car accident, and I lost my car completely. Like, it was
Totaled. Yeah.
totaled. So I was living in Hollywood with no car. I was biking to the job I had at the time, and going through, my what I was going through out there. Well, Haunt came around. I'm like, I really want to do this. Like, they called me the second weekend. They're like, hey, we need you to come in this weekend. And I said, cool. And they're like, it's just going to be for this weekend as of right now. Anyway, so long story short, I ended up working. I ended up coming and living in SoCal with my parents while I worked the Haunt. And I did the whole Haunt season.
Hang on one second. I was going to ask you about your move to Hollywood. Did that have anything to do with anything related to the Haunt?
No,
like business at all, or
I mainly went out there for acting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I went out I went out there because I was connected to a church at the time, and the church was really in the industry. Everybody was in the industry. My roommate was the star of what's that damn show?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I forgot the name of the show.
California Dreams.
California Dreams. Thank you.
There you go.
Jake. He was my roommate at the time.
The guitar player.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And he was a part of the church. And then the guy that brought me into the church, Sean Holland. He was an actor, and he was on the show Clueless.
Gotcha.
So I was doing some extra stuff here and there, and it just it wasn't working out for me. So after Haunt, I came back, and they basically thought I was the devil for going and doing something like Haunt. No, I shit you not.
Satan.
Yeah, dude. They started, and it was so weird because at that time I was a completely different person. So they were like, okay, well, you got to pay your back dues and blah blah. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I go, well, you guys are seriously gonna make me pay something for when I won? I wasn't even here.
Yeah.
It's about as bad as paying daycare when your kids aren't even fucking being watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, dude. I don't even know that Mr. Churchgoer Jeremy.
Dude, you don't.
I know the Jeremy that says fucking shit all the time.
He's the guy that talks. He's that person that you talk to in a bar, and it's the same reaction you have when you're talking to a crazy person in the bar, where it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I gotta go. That's who I was, man.
I got my beer. I gotta go now. I gotta go back to my friends. They're wondering where I'm at.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I didn't curse.
Yeah, clearly.
And I tried to convert all my friends, and luckily I had good friends at the time. They never disowned me.
Right. So, dude, tell us about your first experience working in the what you said it was was it the underground?
That was an underground, yeah.
The underground. So tell us a little bit about what about that event made you, because from what it sounds like, that kind of made you change your viewpoint on things. Like coming from going to church and then coming here and they're like, dude, you're the devil and shit like that.
So no, what happened was before I went to the church, I was always, let's rewind a little bit. When I first started the church, when I had a car. And I'm telling you, this is how fucking shallow these churchgoers are. And I'm not here to bash on church people, but this is my experience.
At least the congregation that you were part of.
This is my experience with it. I was constantly contacted, wanting to hang out, go do things. We were me and a couple of the guys were doing a rap group. We performed at the church. We were doing all kinds of things, and I get in an accident, and only one out of the 7 people I was hanging out with would contact me. Only one of them visited me when I was bedridden after the accident.
Wow,
it was
some friends.
So from there until I started Haunt, I was biking all the way. I was biking 10 miles to go to work, and I was working graveyard shift. Ooh. And they would, it was nuts. It was nuts. So it got
10 miles for graveyard. That's a trek.
Yeah, it was and biking on Hollywood Boulevard of amongst all places. So,
yeah.
That was when I worked at IHOP as a waiter.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and so it was So it had got progressively gotten worse and worse, and that's why I was like, you know what, let me go do this monster thing, and and maybe it'll be cool. So I did. So I went and did the monster thing, and then after I did Haunt, I went back to Hollywood.
Right.
That is when I started seeing a huge change.
Gotcha.
They're trying to make me do the back dues vote. So by the time New Year's came around, I bounced because it was just hectic. I came back home in January.
Okay.
Then it was like once I got back home, and I got a job 2 weeks after I got back home, and that's when I worked at Bank of America, which you know about.
Yeah. In the vault.
The vault.
In the vault.
Yeah. And I started, and like literally within a couple weeks of being around the guys in there, I went to the devil. That's who I became. That's when the curses started coming. We had to do a curse jar. It was nuts.
Dude, I'm Satan, bro. You're not. That's me.
So anyway, so my first in regards to my experience, my first year, it was very different from my second year. My first year was like I had fun,
right?
But I really didn't connect with a lot of people. Like I was cool with people, I was friendly, but I was in a completely different mindset.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm here for a job." I took it kind of serious, and
you needed the money.
I didn't break the rules. Yeah, and it was like, so.
Oh man.
It was. It was a totally different person. I had long hair. My hair like fucking out of here.
Yeah, hippie.
But I had fun. I did chat with people. I was like, people were really cool. But like, I didn't like go to like after hangouts or anything. I literally worked. When I did the breaks when I was supposed to do. I was stuck in this it was like a 2x6 platform, something like that. 2x6, 2x7. It was small. And
dude, that was bigger than the platform I was stuck in my first year.
And it was literally just like reaching out and booing people around the corner.
Yeah.
Booing people. And it was like, I got it great. I got good scares. It was fun. But I think that's what limited a lot of me. And then like, I ended up, befriending one of the guys. And he was like, the last weekend, he's like, dude, come down here and just come run around and stuff. And I did. I had a blast.
It's a different perspective, huh?
Yeah, and people, a couple people tried to get me to do that before, and I was like, no, they put me here, and I don't want to get down, I don't want to get in trouble, I was being a stupid pussy, so. God.
Well, think of it this way, you didn't really want to do the job, you didn't really want to be a scary guy, and when you got into it, you just did it like a regular job.
Yeah.
You didn't really branch out on any kind of creativity or anything. It's like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where they want me to go, and that's it.
Yeah. And I didn't, I didn't know that it was something that people went back to every year. Like it was something you got called to come and do every year. Oh, you want to do this? And, I didn't know that.
Right.
And so I did that first year, which is, it was what it was. And then second.
And then you decided to come back.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, that was kind of cool. Now I'm like, I want to see what it's like as who I am now, the real me, not the one that was faking to be in Hollywood. I want to see how it was with the real me.
Right.
So I reached out to Knott and I was like, hey, are you guys hiring for monsters? And the timing was perfect. It was and they're like, yeah, we're actually having auditions in a couple weeks.
Right.
So that's when I went to the auditions. And I, again, no idea what was going on. I just did what they asked me to do. I act like a fool, ran around, and
so let's touch on that audition process because it's a little bit different today. But like when you did that, were you like in a group with more? Like were you in a group of people, or was it just you in front of whoever was judging?
It was me and 5 other people. I think it was 6 of us at a time.
Okay.
Could have been 5.
Okay.
But there were a handful of us and they asked us just to do things, stupid things. Act like you're in a blender.
A blender, that's a good one.
They would be like, pointing at me and say, oh, you have no right leg and your left hand is uncontrollable. Okay, go. And you're telling. And it was stupid. And I was like, what? But I did it because, I'm like, oh, this should be fun. And we did it.
Right. And
it's funny because my partner, who Chris, Chris was in that audition process with me.
He was in that group
He
with
was
you?
in my group.
Oh,
with
dude,
me.
that's how you met him, right?
No, I didn't meet him until our orientation.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Because he and I were the ones that went up to the sliding, and then like he and I were chatting a lot, and it just ended up becoming like, oh, well, why don't we just run with each other,
Yeah.
and just kind of
Yeah, because you guys both ended up getting Ghost Town, right?
Well, yeah, and that was the thing too, because I didn't know, the zones. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't even really know what the mazes were, except for underground.
Right.
Because I broke when I was in underground. I broke behind the maze. I didn't go to Crew's Nest. I broke behind the maze.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know all the other mazes. I was super stupid when it came to all that stuff. And
Well, you were green, dude.
I was so green.
So, yeah.
That's what I was trying to think. I was trying to think of, but it was green. I was very green, and so
Yeah.
when they gave me the paperwork, the position. I said Ghost Town. One of the guys like, "Oh, dude, what'd you get?" And I'm like, "Ghost Town." He's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." Blah blah. And I'm like, "Okay." I didn't know. I'm like, "All right, cool." And they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have so much fun." I'm like, "Okay, cool. No, I'll have fun then." So I went through the process. And, started the first night. And that first night, I was like, "Fuck."
It was a whole different ball of wax, wasn't it?
And it was just like, "Where do I go?" It's so because I went from this mindset of like I have this little space that I can't leave
To an entire town. Yeah.
And you're so up close and personal with the guests. So it was a huge learning process for me to try and figure out the crowds, figure out spacing.
It's funny because that was the next thing I was going to ask you about that. How your adjustment process was with that.
I adjusted pretty quickly because luckily I can judge people. I can judge intentions. The thing that really was a hurdle for me was when I started sliding. Mm-hmm. That was the hurdle because that's a different type of scare. It's a totally different tactic because we ran around the first weekend just chasing people and jumping out at people and stuff like that. But that first weekend helped me develop my scare tactic in a sense of moving in and out of crowds.
Right.
And which ended up helping me build my sliding tactic, as opposed to, as from being a pop-out slider to being able to walk around and weave in and out of crowds and do pop-downs.
Yeah, correct.
Or pop-ups and scare people that way.
It's a different dimension when you change it up like that.
Yeah, and you need to.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I had my fair share of holding up walls. What we,
Yeah.
You know that how everybody used to call that. Oh, look at the monsters holding the walls.
Yeah, torch the porch.
Yeah, I mean I've had my fair shares of nights. Those were like the lazy nights. That for me when I was tired or like we just wanted a different session.
Yeah.
But that was the big transition was just developing that style, and just kind of just judging the crowd. It was the main thing because when you're up above, scaring people down, like you don't have to worry about them reacting, hitting you, or whatever, getting in your face or anything like that. But when you're like eye level, it's a little bit
right there in the same
right there in their face
space. Yeah,
especially when
you're within
sliding.
3 feet.
Yeah, sliding's different because you're in and out.
Yeah.
Unless somebody like puts their foot in their face or whatever, then which is a story we tell later on.
Yeah, we do actually.
We have that story.
Yeah, we both have those. So talk about the next phase. Okay, you said the first weekend you and Chris you guys just were running around and doing your pop out scares and chasing people. So when you decided, I'm going to slide, was Mr. Hauntfather the one that said, hey, you got to try this out, or was it one of us that said, hey, you need to gear up and give this a shot? I don't remember that part of it.
It was you and Trish.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were part of that group that Craig said to go see. To go see you guys.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry.
that's right.
I got a little distracted because my kids are.
Yeah, I can hear him.
So in orientation, they mentioned, hey, whoever. So all you Ghost Town sliders at this time, like they didn't have, as they didn't have training, or not training, but they didn't have like tests. You didn't have to like
No
run for a
certifications
year
yet.
without it, no certifications, none of that. It was just like, hey, if you want to slide. So we got in at the good time, at a a good time. So
Scary time too.
it was very scary, yeah, but
Yeah.
fun. It was the fun
Yeah.
time. So so he was like, if you guys, any of you want to slide, go to the hanging and talk to the monsters out there from Ghost Town, and they will guide you. And we're like, all right, cool. So we went. That's when there was like 10 or 12 of us that went and spoke to you guys, and I was just, and
I think that's when we did the first actual run through before opening right there in front of Birdcage. Quote me if I'm wrong on,
you're right,
correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right, but I wasn't a part of that because
okay.
in our first night meeting, that's they said, all right, you guys, all the people sliding, go over there, and
gotcha.
And that way they can check your gear and they can show you some techniques and what stuff. Chris and I weren't a part of that.
Okay. No. I don't know why that pops in my head. It must have been another kid.
Yeah, Chris and I were. We said screw it. Like he and I talked, and I told him, I go, because I'm when it comes to doing stuff like that, I want to stand out.
Right.
And just like anybody else, you hear that?
Yeah.
Jack.
Bam.
I want to stand out, so I told Chris, I go, I don't know if I'm gonna do the sliding thing, dude, because like they got like all these other guys that are new. They're gonna be focused on them, and they're all gonna do it. And and at the time I didn't know how many sliders there were.
Right.
So I was like, I'm not gonna. I think I'm gonna kind of pass. So, anyways,
I think there was a huge chunk of it. I think at one point there was around that time. I think there was like maybe 30, 35 of us.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah, that had already been actually, going through the process and sliding and whatnot.
Yeah. So Chris and I decided, let's just run around the first weekend. Well, let's just not do it.
Yeah.
And then I don't recall. It could have been that opening weekend. It could have been the second night. I honestly don't remember. Hopefully, maybe Chris will be able to like verify that.
Well, dude, it was over 20 years ago, bro.
Exactly. But at some point, you and Trish had come up and had told us, hey, you guys should slide, and kind of convinced us. And then it was the first weekend. It would have been the Sunday because. You guys gave us the list of things to go get, and
that's right,
and how to make the gloves and all that, and so we did what we could, and we came the first weekend. Then you brought us, so that's where you brought us to Birdcage, and you checked
correct,
it and you showed us some stuff, and then the rest. The rest is it kind of just went from there.
That's why it keeps popping in my head. I just didn't remember what.
It's funny how when you go through it, you remember. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, like, when you mentioning Birdcage, you would have thought that it would have clicked in my head, but apparently it didn't.
Well, dude, you've been away from it much longer than I have, so
yeah.
So okay, you and Chris get through sliding your first year and everything. I mean, was there anything in specific that, like that year? Because usually there's an integral year where people are like, okay, I'm gonna keep coming back for as long as I can. Like, was there anything in that second year, your first year, your rookie year in Ghost Town, was there anything during that year that's like triggered in your head? It's like, dude, I want to keep doing this.
It was a mixture of things. I was happy.
Right.
For me, it was the camaraderie. It was the friendships I developed in such a short amount of time. Chris and I just became like this. Like he and I befriended each other quick. It was, it was just that and. You guys accepting the two of us as, major Fanugis for the most part.
Yeah, Fanugis.
It was
fucking new guys.
It was like it was so weird because like I wanted to be an actor, and I wanted to do all of that stuff, but I was always a very physical person. I did martial arts for many years.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do something that had both of those,
Right.
That came about, and it was so funny that I never searched for something like that. It just kind of fell into place, and I love.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, this is good. I can do this.
Yeah, and it also helped, get out aggression, which at that time I didn't really have a lot of aggression at that time.
Yeah.
That didn't develop until like later.
Yeah, right.
I was
He
just
became angry guy, like I was for a while.
it was just like I just had fun, man. It was a blast. So that's what made me. And then we're obviously learning more about the event. I'm learning more that you guys they kept coming back every year. We all came back every year, and oh yeah, we get a rehire card. Don't worry, you're gonna come back, and you're definitely gonna get a rehire card. And I did, you know. So it's it was just a constant loop.
Right.
I called it Groundhog's Day. It was Groundhog's Year. It was just a constant.
Kept going.
Yeah, and it was cool because like when we'd go to rehire, it would be almost like a reunion, you know.
Yeah, because we'd have to be there for hours and hours and hours, do our paperwork, and sit there in the baking sun forever waiting to get called.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I used to always look forward to rehire because we'd see people we don't hang out with, you know.
Yeah.
So
okay, now we wrapped that year. We're going into 98 now. Now I think that's about the time that you and I kind of briefly talked about it, is a new character duo developed. Was that around 98 or was that?
Yep.
Okay.
98.
So let's touch on that a little bit, dude. Like you go into it and you know what, like when I know it was you and Chris. So, you know, what was it that you guys are like, okay, this is something we can do?
Well, I don't know why we became skeletons. I think it's because, and hopefully he can touch upon it when we talk to him, but I think it's because I had the mask. I had a skeleton mask. And,
because that's what you used in 97 too, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I found the skull mask that I painted, and and I think Chris was just like, why don't we just be twins? We kind of came up with that idea.
Yeah.
When we came back, and so we became twins, like identical, same clothing for the most part, from what I remember. And
no, you guys had the same color leather vests,
yeah,
the same blue shirts, and the same light colored denim jeans.
Yeah, same wig.
It's so funny though, because like I just watched that video, and I can distinctly tell who is who.
Yeah, Chris had exactly.
It's the walk.
Yeah, Chris had a different walk. He liked to hunch forward.
Yeah,
kind of do this like kind of barging thing. Sometimes he would lean with one shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has this thing, but he's also taller. He's like 6'1".
Yeah, he's also taller. No, he's not 6'1".
He's like 6 foot. Yeah, he's 6'1". He's tall, dude. Yeah,
he didn't seem like he's that tall.
Yeah, he's taller than me. I'm only 5'8". 5'8".
We're short, dude.
Yeah, we're short. We're munchkins.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about that. I mean,
So we came up. We just wanted to do something different. And the only twins that were in the park that we knew of were the pigs, and
yeah,
I didn't look at them as twins. I just saw them as pigs. But we were like, you know what? Let's do that. Let's be twins. Because we knew we were going to be running together, and we always had, and we ended up developing like scare tactics with each other.
Yeah.
He would, he'd be the distraction and vice versa, and we knew each other's style, we knew each other's timing. So we figured, why not? And then that was the year you guys. I think. Yeah.
All I know is, dude, watching you guys was entertaining as hell.
Yeah,
like watching you guys do the stupid shit you did was crazy.
Oh my god, we did stupid shit. Like
yeah.
Oh my god, like
all I have to say is inflatable hammers.
Inflatable hammers were the best, man.
I think you need to elaborate a little bit on that for the viewers, because guys, this is pretty funny. Like if you weren't there, you may not grasp it totally, but hopefully he explains it right to where it'll give you guys a chuckle, because I was on the ground laughing my ass off in character.
I don't know how it started. I know it started with me hitting Chris with one. I saw, because at the time that's where the park had these inflatable hammers that people can win.
Yeah.
We used to take everything. We used to take the horns. We used to take their funnel cakes. We would take anything that they're stuffed animals, and we would put them up in the trees or whatever.
Yeah.
We would, and they wouldn't care. They would think it's funny. We would push the envelope to try and get them just to see if they would react in a negative way, and they wouldn't. It was so different back then. The crowds went to have fun, not to like cause problems. And so I think like I saw a hammer and I was playing with it and I realized that this thing it's not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, it's full of air.
Yeah, so I think I went and like smacked Chris with it.
Yeah.
Just went up and and then he just reacted to it naturally, and it was just like, oh, we can have fun with this. So the footage that you saw of us, that was just like, it was just nightly. We did that all the time.
Yeah.
At the end of the run when we were tired, it was basically after the last hanging, we had like an hour and a half to just fool around, and we would always try to get like a crowd to just hang out and sit, and it would be super entertaining. And we would just beat the crap out of each other with hammers.
So that was, how many years did you guys run the Bone Brother duo? Was it just one or 2 years?
I believe it was
3 years?
2 or 3 years, yeah. Yeah, we did it for a few years before we got makeup. Once we got makeup, that's when Lucky and Sweet Cheeks were developed.
Right. So, okay. During that process with those 3 years, I know I'm kind of skipping here, but I'm keeping under the umbrella of the Bone Brothers,
right? Because
it was in that 2 or 3 year window,
right?
That was the time when you guys first got a taste of the pre-show too. I don't remember what year it was. Was it the first year or second year?
It was the second year.
Okay. So now we're moving into 99.
No, 98 was
99 was year 2 of the Bone Brothers.
No,
because 97 was your first year.
Our first year of the Bone Brothers. Sorry, I thought you were asking second year Streets. It was second year Streets, first year as Bone Brothers. That's when we started doing pre-show.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys invited us. I think we did it a couple of times for the year before. I don't remember, but it
takes a lot of time away from the street.
It does, but I do believe but we were basically full time with you guys in the pre-show second.
Yeah. We said come and before show starts, you guys want to come, you're welcome to.
Yeah, we weren't a part of the hanging, which I was more than happy not to be, because we gave us more time on the streets, which what we were there to do.
Yeah.
But pre-show, hands down, oh hell yeah, that was like our thing. So we did the first year, and it was fun. It was just crazy because it was constantly it was a show. Like there were certain parts, like we're always there. Todd doing his girl, miming with
and his leg thing, his double jointed leg thing.
Right, and then then you had the count. I think it was the 5-minute countdown where it had all the
5 minutes
and all the sounds. Yeah, so we did all, we had that. It was a repeat, and we did our, little slides, and it wasn't really a choreographed show, but it was free for all, which I thought was a lot more fun. And we would do, we would we do the jumping, we do the limbo, we do, tunnel.
Yeah.
We do all that
Slider
stuff. We didn't do, all these like scripted shows that they're doing nowadays, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We tried to.
We just made sure we didn't totally annihilate each other every show.
Well, yeah, but we did. We tried to get Knotts to do a show, and they never would.
Yeah.
But
it was only pre-show.
It was only pre-show. We got an actual slider show, because people would go just to watch us slide, and people would crowd around to watch the pre-show, and
yeah.
I still believe to this day that a lot of them came just to see the pre-show.
Yeah. Well, for the viewers, for those of you that are watching that may not know, that's where slider shows actually were born. It was for the pre-show and the hanging to get the crowd warmed up.
That's where tricks were born.
Yep.
A lot of tricks.
All the stuff that comes out today, that's where it got started.
Yeah. And then when they ran it through the middle, man, that was a freaking game changer right there.
You mean the midway?
When they ran it, the midway, when they ran it through the middle of the square, as opposed to right in front of the stage. The stage was cool, but we had that curve that always kind of threw you off.
Yeah.
But when you ran it, once they changed it that one year right through the middle, I don't know whose idea was that, but
that was Tom Clough, because he had some of his talent staged by the sound booth.
That's right, and they came through the middle. That's right.
Yeah. That's when we had to bring in the I think that was a year, Austin Powers, where we had to bring in a cart.
Yeah.
With somebody standing on it.
Yep.
And it had to be this, I don't know if you remember, I was this big ass puppet.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I hated that. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that.
Man, when the hanging was good.
Yeah.
So, so we did that for a few years. And then Chris and I actually, I don't know if you remember the choreographed fight we did to the, the soundtrack that they did.
Yeah.
Which was cool. And that was actually, Chris and I will get into that. I can't wait to talk to him about that. Reminisce.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
When he gave me the black eye.
Some of this, yeah, I know, because you guys misinterpreted each other, and bam.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
It was so funny. It was in his house. We were in his living room, and his brother Aaron was in the back of the house in his room, and he heard it from in there.
Yeah.
He just saw me on the ground.
We're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Someone got hurt.
It was funny. So.
Okay, so that was like 3 years. So that was 98, 99, 2000.
2000.
And those are the Bone Brother years. And then you and Chris get makeup, obviously different versions of it, so you guys couldn't run together anymore.
Yeah.
But was that a conscious effort, or do you guys just decide, hey, you know what? You guys wanted to break off and do your own thing?
Yeah. I don't remember if it was because we had different ideas for a character, or if it was just like, let's just kind of do our own thing now.
Okay.
It worked out though, because I think it was just we wanted to not do the twins anymore.
Well, let's talk about what your character turned into. Like, I mean, why did you choose quote unquote Lucky? And, what was your idea behind it? I mean, clearly Lucky was, and from what I understand is your inspiration was a movie character, correct?
Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wanted to do, so like when we did the Bone Brothers, we really didn't develop a backstory. We didn't develop anything like that. We just kind of like, oh, this is cool. Let's just run with it.
Yeah.
With our
actual duo in Ghost Town.
Yeah, with our Michael Jackson wigs. We just ran with it. And so like when it came to doing Lucky, I wanted to do something totally different, a little bit more energetic, I guess you could say. I wanted to change his style up a little bit, and since it was the opportunity for us to do that. So
well, you definitely did, because it was totally different.
Yeah, he was completely different, and he was. So I wanted to do something that looked creepy, but when I acted like a fool, he just looked happy.
Yeah.
So that's when the leprechaun, and I don't know why I came up with the idea of the leprechaun, but the smile is what the smile is really what triggered it. I think I might have watched the movie that year or something, and I just
could be.
So I just wanted to use features of it. And then, I told Donna, the makeup artist at the time, I'm like, oh,
Donna sculpted that?
Donna sculpted it, yeah.
Oh, okay. I think it was paper thin. I remember that.
It was super thin. It was great, though, because it moved really well. I mean, it was a constant smile, but it was kind of like that. It just, everything moved really well.
Yeah.
It was glued down. So, so I gave her the reference, and I was like, let's just do something like this. And little did I know she would basically sculpt the whole thing. Like
she's like, okay,
she pretty much just sculpted the leprechaun, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. It looks cool, so I'm like, fuck it, let's use it.
Might as well.
I'm like, I'm not the one that's gonna get sued, so I don't care. So we again, we're in year 2000 now of your quote unquote monster career. Yeah, so he wasn't a leprechaun. He was just a goblin that got loose from, whatever. I really didn't develop him very much. I was just like, personality-wise, I developed him, but I didn't do a backstory.
I was just going to add, that was my next question. It's like, okay, how did you develop into kind of tying into the folklore of Ghost Town, but you just clearly said it. You didn't really develop that side of them.
No, that wasn't.
Just the energy levels and stuff.
Yeah, that didn't happen until the next character.
Right.
But personality is what I really wanted to develop. I wanted to create, a different walk, create, just a completely different vibe.
Right.
Costume-wise, with the Bone Brothers, we were basically just whatever Knott gave us for the most part. Costume-wise, like we wore that.
But you guys matched.
But
You
we
guys
met-
were identical. I mean,
Yeah, because the outfits that we got, we ended up getting what basically what Knott just uses, jeans. You know,
Yeah.
We had our own. We had the vest. Like I think either Chris or I made sure we asked for a vest that was matching for the most part.
Yeah.
And then we went and got our own like shirts that matched. And then
yeah, Walker 47 shirts, dude.
yeah, so that was pretty much it. So we pretty much stuck to the theme of Ghost Town on that. And then when it came to Lucky, I was like, well, I'm going to kind of veer out of the whole cowboy thing.
Yeah.
And I did. And so I had
Clearly, yeah. It was way different.
Yeah, he had a bandana. He had really fringy, really a real fringy costume. He was very tattered. So I liked the cheesecloth tatteredness of Ghost Town. So that's kind of it was almost like an idea of like he ran through a Ghost Town spider web, and then he just kept running. And it just flailed. It just kind of went behind because at that time is when I was developing my spins and I was getting really into the tricks for sliding, and I wanted all that to kind of flow. Look really cool. So that was the idea. Same thing when I'd run after people. You see the fringe kind of just trailing behind them. So that would be so. So that was the idea of Lucky, just being really energetic. Mostly ran after people, and chased people. That was like
Okay, so Lucky was what you were that character for what 2 or 3 years also, right?
Well, I was lucky throughout. I was basically lucky through the rest of my haunt career, off and on. Like whenever I decided to bring him back.
Right, but no, I meant like
As
your
a
solid career,
full-time-
day in and day out.
About 2 years.
Okay, that's what I thought because see, some of the timelines are muddy in my brain now.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep that kind of straight. So you were lucky for let's just say 2 years. So that puts you 2000, 2001. Now we're coming into 2002.
Right.
What made you decide to be like, hey, it's time for me to develop a new character?
So I didn't plan on having a new character. I planned on using Lucky for the rest of the run, and I was happy with that because he was cool. I had a lot of fun with him.
I thought he was a cool looking character too. It was definitely a different take than your typical cowboy stuff.
Yeah, and so Mel, head of makeup, called me.
God bless her. Rest her soul.
Miss her.
Yeah.
Miss her. So she called me and she was like, "Hey, would you be interested in getting casted? Because we didn't get cast. Oh, did we get casted for those?
For Ghost Rider, you got casted. That was your first live cast.
First live cast.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't get casted for the other one. So.
But that looked like it was a full custom.
I think we
Lucky.
did.
Lucky looked like it was a full custom, but Ghost Rider, I remember you getting casted for that.
Yeah. Chris will have to verify that. I don't remember, but anyways, I'm not really sure if I got casted.
Chris did too. Both you guys did. I remember him getting casted for Sweet Cheeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So. I think we did get casted for Lucky and Sweet Cheeks. And
I don't remember that. I know he did for Sweet Cheeks. I just didn't remember for you.
Yeah, I didn't get casted for Ghost Rider as far as I remember. So.
Okay.
So she was like. So anyway, she calls me up and she's like, "Hey, would you like to have you ever sculpted? Were you interested in like designing a character?" And I'm like, "I've never sculpted." She knew I drew.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. She knew I airbrushed and painted because I did touch-ups on everybody's masks for the most part.
Yeah.
And so anyways, and I go, "I don't know how. I would love to do it." I go, "Who do you want me to do it for?" She's like, "Well, for you." She's like, if you want to do a new character, and I'm like, yeah, let's try it, And I go, but what if what if I can't do it? She's like, don't worry, I'll help you out. So, anyways, she kind of showed me, some tricks and stuff, and then she gave me some resources, and she gave me like some of the tools, and she's like, go have at it, and just
go to town, yeah.
She's like, just make sure you use reference, and it'll help you. And I'm like, all right, so I did. I used there was a specific Spawn. Character that I referenced, which was Pirate Spawn. I liked the decayed look.
So it's basically Spawn without his Spawn mask on. It was his charred look underneath.
It was his charred look, and he was like
Gotcha.
This pirate. Yeah. So basically, it was just like the Spawn without the mask.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know I wasn't a Spawn fan at the time.
at the time.
I was just like, this guy looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna do a dead cowboy. I'm just gonna make it like this really cool cowboy that got fucked up, somehow.
So the idea was always to develop a cowboy.
Yes, that's where I
Okay.
was like, all right, it was a new character. I'm going back to cowboy. And excuse me, and it wasn't, the intentions weren't to like be burnt, but he got messed up somehow. So I just started sculpting, and and that was my first thing I ever sculpted. And she,
It's funny because I mean, if people don't really remember what Spawn looks like without his mask on, it's a cross between Freddy Krueger and Spawn.
yeah, basically,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah,
So I sculpted it, and she loved it. She helped me. She critiqued it here and there, but it really wasn't a lot. And so it was like my very first sculpture, and she's like, "You should do this."
yeah,
And I was like, "I don't want to really," but I had fun doing that one. And so once we got that's a whole other story though. Like, because
Yeah.
from there, all the reactions that I had got from that character. That's where, like, because I kept sculpting for Knott.
yeah,
Well, sorry, I should be more specific. I was sculpting for Mel.
right.
I don't want to piss anybody off because apparently that was a big fucking topic. So I sculpted for Mel a few other characters after that. So I developed, Ghost Rider, ran with him for a bit, and then the backstory.
Okay, stop for a second. Where'd the name come from? I'm gonna ask. I think I know, but I want to hear it.
Came from the ride.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, it came from the ride, not from the movie, not from Ghost Rider the movie. It had nothing to do with that. Came from
No, it didn't even look the same.
I wanted to, no, not at all. I wanted my character to be connected to Knott's.
Right.
And so it essentially was Rider, was the character name, but they wrote
Right.
Ghost Rider, and I was like, I guess he's Ghost Rider. And I just wanted
You're like,
Rider.
okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Hey, you know what? Mine wasn't called Pyro. It was called Neptune.
Yeah. They don't listen.
So anyway.
They don't listen. So yeah, I ran with that, and Donna was my makeup artist for that, I believe. Actually, I had several when it came. To
Yeah.
Ghost Rider. I had several. They were all amazing. Lynn, I think Lynn was one of them too.
Yeah, both Donna and Lynn are, dude, they were stellar makeup artists.
Christy, who we both dated.
Yeah.
Anyways,
You really had to put that out there?
yeah, I had to.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry. She pretty much came up with the backstory for
Yeah.
Ryder.
Well, dude, he totally fits in. But let's talk about that backstory because I mean, the last time you and I spoke about that was probably a year after you created the character, and I don't remember shit. So let's have the viewers here.
He was so he was a miner that worked in the mine, and during the folklore, the curse.
So the mine ride you're talking about?
Mine ride.
Okay.
So, the mine ride, which is the entrance to Ghost Town.
Right.
Yeah, or not Ghost Town, the entrance to Ghost Rider.
So you're talking about the mining tunnel right there.
That
You worked
mining
there.
tunnel,
Yeah.
that,
Gotcha.
Which pretty much can be the mine ride. I mean,
Yeah.
throw the mine
yeah.
ride behind it, and you're good.
Of course.
So mine rider, freaking mining tunnel. He was a miner that worked in there, and during the curse, an explosion happened in the mine, and he got trapped in there, and then formed into his character. He didn't form into an animal. He just became alive.
He was from the
died.
explosion.
After he died from the explosion and was buried, the curse basically woke him up.
So quote unquote the undead.
The end, yeah, basically. And
Gotcha.
it wasn't an animal. I know the curse was like, oh, everybody turns into animals. It's like,
Yeah, but I wasn't either. So I mean, we're on the same page with that.
yeah, and it's so and that got thrown around, but that's not necessarily what the truth of the curse is. It just
Yeah.
like it turns the animals into manimals, and then it turns the humans into dead people, basically.
Type of thing. Yeah.
So he was an undead, and basically his purpose is to find out. He didn't know about the curse. He just died. He didn't know anything about that. So his purpose was to find the person that caused the explosion and could basically murdered him.
Okay, so he was a vengeful character.
He was very vengeful. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 2003, and you said Ghost Rider. You kind of ran to the end of your career, right?
I
can hear it.
did.
Ding, 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 ding. So okay, so the 2003 and your actual final year on your 10-year streak was 2008, right? So
2006
or 6. So that was you ran that for an additional 3 years, so 4 years total.
4 years total with Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do I keep thinking number 8? Hello, housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Yeah.
I don't know why, but anyway, so you're
So I did
2006. You run Ghost Rider to the end of your quote unquote career, which is 10 years.
Yeah, which wasn't like planned. 2006 wasn't planned to be my final year. It just abruptly that was such a horrible year personally for me.
Yeah.
And just and Haunt wasn't enough to save my sanity. It actually was causing a lot of my issues. I just was done.
Your kids are killing me right now, dude. I can hear them. Hey, sorry. So you took a step back, and you took quite a bit of time off with that. So
2015, yeah.
Yeah. So then let's fast forward to what was it? That's 11 years later.
11 years.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 9 years later. Sorry. My math sucks. So 9 years later,
I'm
you
sitting there
decide.
going, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
So
9 years later, you decide, oh, I want to come back.
Yeah, in 2015, it's so weird. Like, my cousin, you know, Monique wanted to do. She did.
Momo.
She got hired, basically. And
Yeah.
I was like, I think that'd be kind of cool to work with her. Her first year, she's never done haunt. She's never done an event like that. I think it'd be,
Help her get her feet wet. Yeah.
think about it'd be kind of cool to go back. So, you know, with the help of you, I was able to do that. And at the time, I was able to dedicate quite a bit of time. The job I was on was giving me the time off and everything. So when I went back, I wanted to upgrade.
Oh God, that's funny. I can hear him like they're right next to me right now. It's great.
Is it that loud?
Yeah, I can hear him like seriously. They're not right next to me, but in the next room.
So I came back. I wanted to do a new version of Ghost Rider,
Right.
and kind of develop the character a little bit more, the backstory a little bit more. I turned him into a fucking kids, man. I swear. I turned him into a gunslinger. Hold on. Let me let them in.
This is what happens when you have kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh God.
And cut.
Yeah.
Take 2. Anyways, so I wanted to turn him into a gunslinger. I thought it'd be kind of cool to run around with, you know, guns and holsters and stuff, like a cowboy should. And you know, I changed his look a little bit. I added a red, kind of like Shaw, to kind of pay a little bit of homage to Clint Eastwood's, you know.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, thought that would be kind of cool to add to
With the
that.
poncho.
The poncho, yeah.
Yeah.
And then redesign the face as a mask, because I never had a mask. It was all foam makeup.
Yeah, it was always prosthetic.
So so I spent a lot of time sculpting it and doing, you know, good. But then it just got to a point where I still had to paint it. I still had all this work to do, and I rushed it and broke the freaking mold. I couldn't. I was only able to get one pull out of it.
But it did you through the run, so it got you, you know.
I mean, it did. You know, a lot of people dug it, but they kept calling me Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, because I mean, the generation's all I know. They don't,
Yeah.
you know, at that point, I mean, a lot of people didn't know the Ghost Rider character.
And looking at it now, like he totally looks like fucking.
Why don't you take it off your shelf, dude? Put it in the camera real quick.
Well, he's kind of broken.
That's okay. Let's let the viewers get a glimpse of the last rendition of him. Yeah, he's pretty jacked up, but with the hat on, he does look like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's why.
Yeah. He's pretty fucked. But
yeah,
so if you
definitely not Freddy Krueger when you know what the character's about.
Right.
So, you know.
But yeah, he's it's because like it sucks because I when I actually used a true burn victim as reference.
Right.
So like when you go and do that, is then you know put like really soft features on him.
Yeah.
Dude, he looks like a burn victim, and I painted it the way I painted it. Looks like.
But honestly, when you think about it, me being like, if I walked in as a guest, I saw a character, I wouldn't think Freddy Krueger just because of the clothes. But that's me because I'm
right
from back then, and even if I didn't know what Ghost Rider was,
yeah,
you know, I'd still like, that's not Freddy Krueger. The face maybe look burned, but the body is cowboy.
Yeah.
So it's different.
It was fun. I mean, it was mostly guests. Like guests were really the only ones that were like, "Oh, hey, it's Freddy Krueger." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not, but whatever."
Yeah.
But it was cool. I mean, he looked good, and I was able to develop. You know, and I don't know if you saw, but I was developed like more like a. He was a little bit more chill, obviously, because I was older.
Yeah.
I was out of shape too, man.
Yeah. So, well, that was definitely noticeable.
I was out of shape, dude.
But you know, let's talk about what it was like for you. Like, okay, you know, last year was 2006 and you came back in 2015. What was it like for you to get right back in the mix after having 9 years off and running with these young bucks now? It's like, what was the difference between back then and then, besides being out of shape, and then, you know, going back at it in 2015?
I felt old.
Well, yeah.
It was weird because the first weekend, well, the first couple nights, I didn't know anybody.
Except for Ron.
Well, he wasn't there though. I knew James, but James had already been clicked up with.
Wait,
Ron
wasn't there?
Ron came like the third night.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he was working.
He was working, yeah. So
yeah.
So and then I knew James. I clicked with James. I scared with him the second night, I believe.
Mr. Blitz.
Yeah, he was, you know, he was really the only person that I like knew. I knew a couple other people, but they did their own thing. They weren't sliders. Slider wise,
yeah.
I knew James, and he was clicked up with the newbies. Is what I called them. So it was different because, you know, Knott's had changed. The rules had changed. So when I went in there, I was just like, okay, well, am I going to get, because I heard stories, you know, so I was like, well, am I going to get yelled at if I chase somebody 5 feet? You know, I'm like.
Yeah. The scope was definitely different, so.
It was. And I didn't want to, like, mess things up for you.
Right.
Because, you know, you kind of put, you know, you got me in there, you put yourself on the line, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to do a good job for you. That's why it bummed me out, and I was upset that I couldn't be there so many nights halfway through, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Careers first.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
totally.
But so it was different. I felt you know, like I felt about myself the first night for the most part.
Yeah.
And then still just trying to find the groove. Like I was just like. I couldn't really. I was so nervous to like. I didn't want to get injured. Like I didn't really want to slide because I hadn't practiced.
Yeah. Not to mention the ground was different from the last time you slid there.
And that's the thing. When I did slide, like I almost face planted.
The first time, yeah.
Everything was so different. It was really not like it was when I left, and so. But then like the second night came around, James. I went and slid with the guys up at the front in the beginning. The main gate. Yeah, that was cool. I started to find my groove a little bit, and then the third night is when Ron got there. That's when I like really was like, all right, cool. Like I'm running with someone. He had a super chill vibe.
Yeah.
So he and I were like right there with each other vibe wise. Like we were like, oh, cool. Let's just kick back and hold the wall and just spide, and we did.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Okay, so that kind of wraps up your quote unquote haunt career. I mean, there was a 9-year gap in between, the time you finished your first run and then when you came back. So obviously you weren't stagnant in those years in the beginning. You want to touch a little bit on that? I know we're going to have an episode that's going to go deeper into that, but you want to kind of just scratch the surface on what you were doing during that time?
Yeah, I mean, we can. We have like you said, we have a full episode that's going to be talking about that. But after 2006, after 2006, I took a step back and then started a business. I went into full production for mask making. And
You were still linked.
I was still linked. Yeah, I was still in the haunt industry. Did that for 2 years. But we'll get into all of that because I don't want to talk too much about that and then repeat it on the episode.
Yeah.
But I took the sculpting that I did from Knott's and pushed it after Knott's to stuff with it.
So we got a pretty good glimpse of your background and how you kind of fell into the actual Scary Farm bit, by accident because you got a call and you're like, what? You're like, okay. And then you got hooked. So
yeah, it's definitely addicting. When you fall into the right place, I think I wasn't in the right mindset. The first year I did it and when they say haunt isn't for everybody, it really isn't for everybody. And I was able to, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had fun, but it wasn't like what it is for a lot of people. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain.
No, it's different for everybody as to why they do it. Some people do it because they need the paycheck. Some people do it because they want to have fun.
Yeah.
Stress reliever, those things.
Some people do it because they love Halloween. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. I was a fan of Halloween at the time, but like I became even a bigger fan. I've always loved horror movies and stuff, and I was a big horror fan. But like haunts and haunted houses, like that wasn't even like my thing. I had no idea. I won't say I didn't have any idea. I just wasn't into it. I didn't care.
Not at the time.
Halloween, I dressed up periodically, more so when I was in high school and stuff. But it wasn't like, oh my god, Halloween is like 365 days. That wasn't me. I'm still not like that, but I love scary stuff, and I love making scary things, and I love telling scary stories and making.
You don't eat, breathe, and sleep working a haunted event, though.
And not anymore. I did when I was in Ghost Town. Like we talked about it year round. We trained year round. Like we did everything, and I became that person during haunt. But once I came out of haunt, I was still like I was doing the mask stuff. But then once I started school and I went into VFX, like I was still a horror fan, but I wasn't like the haunt thing was just like.
It was in the background.
I put it in the back, and I still did events and, kept in touch with people, but I was on a different path. So, like, just as quickly as I got it, into it, or I fell in love with it, it quickly got pushed to the back of my mind.
Yeah, it was like a blip.
Yeah, and I did things throughout the years, but...
it's tough.
And it's so funny, because, like, I hear a lot of people's stories, and mine's like the opposite of what everybody else,
it's like we always say, everybody's got their own stories.
Yeah, people do it.
About
a lot of people do it because they've always wanted to do it. They became fans and they went in. So
let me ask you this final question before we actually wrap this puppy up here. So when you first came into haunt, a lot of people have a perception of, oh, dude, I can't wait to do this. And then they get into it and they realize how hard work it is, and it makes them take a step back. It's like, oh, I don't know what I got myself into. Mm-hmm. So what was your perception after you had been going as a guest, and then all of a sudden, oh, okay, now I'm on the other side of the veil? Like, what was your perception of it as you went in? Did you have any like, oh shit, I need to take a step back, this isn't as easy as I thought?
I took a step, but I took a step forward.
Okay.
I went into it because I already kind of was forewarned my first year about the whole, like, people bail out, people
Yeah.
don't last a weekend. So I already got that like fear factor. And so going in as as an extra, and doing the first weekend, it was a lot of work, but it wasn't like Streets. My first weekend on Streets, I was sore until the next weekend.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me.
Because you got this bigger area and you're just running around like a chicken with your head cut
so
off.
being in a maze, or as I should say, like I know maze monsters kill it, and they do a lot of work, but like my experience in a maze before I went to Streets was drastically different.
Well, yeah, for sure, because rides to mazes to Streets is a completely different animal.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally.
Yeah. So like the first weekend running around, like that's one type of soreness.
Yeah.
It's totally different. When you slide, that's a whole other beast. Especially when you don't prepare for sliding. Luckily I was in tremendous shape back then.
Yeah.
I was young, so like it being in shape was kind of natural. And agile and flexible. So like I was able to do a lot of it that first year without getting injured.
Right.
That came later.
Yeah.
That came later. And it wasn't even haunt that injured me. It was stupid gymnastics.
And then you got injured ad hoc from that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll talk about that story when we talk about sliding.
Yeah. Which is coming up pretty soon, the next episode or two. So
2 episodes? No, 3 episodes. Yeah. So so it so after that first weekend of sliding, that first night of sliding, that next night sucked. That next night fucking sucked bad.
Super tight your body.
Super tight, and but luckily we stretched and made it work.
Yeah.
And so I survived. I didn't run from it. A lot of people run from it.
Yeah, they do, because the soreness that really gets them.
It's the soreness, and honestly, it's like it's a different mentality. The crowd is you kind of have to have expectations on the crowd.
Yeah.
Because some of them can be really cool, some of them can be really mean, and piss you off and do stupid stuff. So especially nowadays, because alcohol is involved.
Oh yeah.
So
for sure.
So when people bail out, it's like it sucks, but at the same time, it's like, well, if you can't handle it, then then bye. Because it's not for you, and you don't need to be out there dealing with it.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's a tough scenario.
Yeah, man.
So, well, I guess we can wrap this puppy up. I mean, that was a pretty good insight on your side of the story compared to mine. So, very different.
Very different. It's
very
funny
different.
though, because you and I, we kind of have the same introduction though when it comes to it. We both wore the same mask. We both did the same maze. You did
just a year apart.
It was a year apart, but and it was a different name, but it was the exact same maze.
Same maze, same location.
No, it was different location.
It wasn't an auto race?
No,
underground?
I was in Fiesta Village. The first year in Fiesta Village.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they moved it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you and I mean, it's different in terms of like, becoming a monster, but our paths were pretty similar. So
the path to where we ended up is pretty similar.
Yeah, we did a lot of similar stuff.
Yeah. So
that's why you and I became such good friends.
Fucking crazy, dude. So
shit.
Well, all right, folks. That's about it for this episode. Just remember to hit that like button and subscribe so you hear the ping with the bell. Also, go ahead and give us a follow on our social medias that are posted above his picture, below mine. Other than that, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching.
Adios.